All right, episode 49. Are you struggling to break through that next level in your business? How your mindset is at fault and holding you back from having the income and the lifestyle that you want? Join us as we have top real estate coach Wayne Salmans from Hero Nation, and he's going to share his tips and strategies to helping you get into that right mindset and building a profitable business. We're going to get started right now.
Let's go.
And Brian. Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right, episode 49.
It's weird because like we do our other podcast before this, and then when we were doing this one for so long downstairs, I almost feel like it hasn't started because I don't have headphones on, and I can't. I'm so not used to not hearing myself with headphones.
We need to bring the headphones back.
Derek,
Come on, Derek.
Can we just have pretend headphones?
Well, first off, Derek has headphones on.
Yeah. What
He's
are you
cool.
doing over there
He's
with
cool.
your headphones? Why is that? Yeah. This is ridiculous.
This is bullshit. All right, guys. How's it going?
It's going.
Yeah?
It's going. I don't know if you saw how it was going, but I do remember I posted something specifically about how it was going on social media last night, and then someone else very specifically sort of ripped off my post about how it was going. It's the exact same post.
I saw that.
I happened to post how many deals we posted in January on social media, and then less than an hour later, somebody else posted how many deals his team did on social media.
But I also
in
included
a very similar format.
You're basically an inspiration.
with identical emojis.
You're just,
But-
just an inspirer. That's
yeah,
what you are.
but I think somebody in the copycat post added how many listings they took that
That is true.
yeah, so
And I told you how many listings we took in confidence, and then
it wasn't because it was on the show.
It was.
oh, that's actually true. I also said,
But you were you were definitely
all of
confident how many
you
listings you
in
took.
confidence too.
Absolutely.
I know. I'm ashamed because we only took 9, and now we're not allowed to promote the webinar anymore. What's the webinar?
If you're looking to take 9+ listings
We're getting good.
every single month, we took 15. But if you're looking to take over 9 listings every single month, go over to touracademy.com/take10.
TEN.
Yeah.
TEN.
Take 9
Sign
without
up for that
taking.
webinar. You're going to learn how you can at least take 9 listings, at least.
At least.
I mean, maybe you can learn from me on how to take more than that. I don't know. It's definitely in there. You're going to learn the tips, tricks, everything. We roll up our sleeves. It's all there. And you're going to sign up for Tour Academy for $1.
Just murdering it with the promos today.
I know.
It's all
So
promos.
seamless.
This is a promo ad because we got Wayne on.
Ew.
Yeah.
This is
We
the first
have-
time I get to chill with Wayne.
You've never
I
chilled with
know.
Wayne? So
I
we have
No,
Wayne.
I've been in the
We-
same room, but
we've
I've
been
never
internet
hang
friends.
out.
I was just saying, I don't get
Forever.
to- the
It's
only-
like we're taking
the only
our
time
relationship
I've
to a
ever
whole new
been in the
level. I
same
like it.
room with
Yeah.
Wayne. Let me tell you a story about Wayne. He doesn't even know this story. But the last time I was in a room with Wayne, he took my phone for texting during Bold.
I did.
Yes, you did.
Wow.
Which I deserve.
I mean, well, yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. Like, well, I mean, did
No,
you
I
earn
did.
it?
Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't. The problem was I wasn't even trying to hide it. I was like doing
Yeah.
it almost in
Yeah.
his face.
I call those
which
people
is-
prayers. You know
yeah.
what I mean? They're looking down
Exactly,
like they're
yeah.
a prayer. You know,
No,
the
I was
entire time.
exactly.
Their
Which
eyes, like,
honestly,
almost
I didn't
closed,
even
and you're
I didn't
like,
even have that much respect.
either you
I
guys
was
have
just
serious life
I was
issues
you
or-
were talking. I was just sitting there like this. I was really engaged in whatever I was doing.
Same kind of respect I get from my kids. Actually, that was the
It had
exact.
nothing to- it was all me.
interpretation.
It was my stuff I was involved in. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway,
I don't remember. I blocked it. We're good. We're good. Clean
This
slate.
is, by the way, this is Wayne Salmans,
sorry we got off on a tangent.
the top real estate coach for Hero Nation.
Boom. There we go.
Do you call yourself top real estate coach at home?
No, at home I call myself yes.
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 Yeah.
Yep.
That's a
Whatever.
good answer.
Yes.
Will
Yep.
do.
Tell us a little bit about your background, Wayne, because you and I have a history.
We do have a history. Yeah. So my background is I was born at a young age, and that's where I got my start. And then I tell people, like, my dad's a pastor, my mom's a therapist, so I was screwed from day one. Like, I didn't have a chance. You know what I mean? Like, there was going to be some issues. Anyway, moved out when I was 15, traveled the world, landed in Alaska, started building houses, decided building houses at -10 was not my, life's calling, and God probably had better for me than that. Sure. Went into real estate. I sucked at the beginning. Took a while to get into that. Then started crushing real estate, built a real estate team.
Are you going to leave out the best part?
I was 30 under 30.
30 under 30.
Oh,
You say that
there you
every
go.
time, and
There
you're
you go.
about to leave that out?
I know.
In Alaska, too.
I was the first one for Alaska. There
That's
you go.
crazy.
Yeah. Yep. I thought it was pretty cool until I met Nick Good. I thought I was something special. That probably happened for most of us, right?
Yeah.
You really feel like you're getting somewhere. And
You ran into this beard.
and then I ran it.
There was no beard back then.
There was.
That was
I didn't.
pre-beard.
I didn't know. There was no warning, no nothing. Just like, Nick Good.
Yeah.
And So I was doing awesome and selling a bunch of houses, had a great team, everything else. Then I lost it all. Literally, had an affair, screwed up my life, lost everything. Hit rock bottom, and it happened fast too.
Yeah.
So nailed rock bottom. Go big, right? I nailed it, and don't go small. And so then spent my years getting back up and led to all this craziness the last several years. So
Man, the whole roller coaster. But now you're running Hero Nation.
now run Hero Nation,
Which
There we
I
go.
want to get into as quickly as possible because I could talk about this all day.
Boom, let's go.
We're not at all competitors, but we're both in the space of education, I
Right,
think.
yes.
Right? Which is the point that the part that I want to jump off onto is that, man, one, in real estate, we talk a lot about brokerages and be with the right crew. And I've always said the circle that you surround yourself with is so much more important than anybody that I even think would pay to educate you, even though we run a coaching company, right? I just think that's just such a tremendous part of that influence. But at the same time, the trend that I've noticed that every single person that I aspire to be like invests in themselves and invests in coaching at a higher level than they're currently at.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's always stuck with me. And it's the one really serious commonality that I see between really, really high achievers is that there's a humility in them in the sense that they are always looking at whatever they consider the rung above them to gain whatever insight and intellect or whatever they need to get to another level, right? And that is something that I think the average agent or the average entrepreneur in general could really learn a lot from.
Yeah, well, and two things come to mind when you say that. First off, it's there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, and she said, you're not going to live long enough. You don't have enough time to make all the mistakes on your own.
Right.
You literally don't have enough years to make all the mistakes on your own, so you better learn from other people. And I think the other thing there, too, is you realize, the dumbest way to learn most of life lessons are trial and error. You have to learn some of life that way. That's just a part of learning.
Sure.
And yet, if you learn everything in your life by trial and error, that's really, really stupid. You're an idiot if you can't learn from oh, that person jumped off the bridge, didn't work out. I shouldn't jump off the bridge.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think that's why we do that. We do it I want to collapse time.
Yeah.
Right? So
100%.
Let's talk a little bit about, I just did your is it Tribe Nation? Is it Tribe Nation?
The Tribe, yeah.
The Tribe. And that's a 2-day intensive.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of mindset.
Dude, it's a lot of mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that when we first started this show here at the new studios, that was something that Brian and Matt and I always joked about. It always came back to mindset. We're like, how many shows on mindset can we do?
Yes.
Right?
All of them.
All of them.
Right.
Yeah. And we did kind of get back into some lead gen and some other talk. But now we're starting to see where, let's say you're bouncing around.
Yeah.
Right? Your business 1 minute feels like it's going gangbusters. Next minute you're on the streets and
Yeah. Are we talking about this morning or?
Yeah, this definitely. I was actually on the phone with Elizabeth heading over here, and I'm like, this market, man. 1 minute, last week, it felt like it was a monsoon, and now it feels like the desert.
Yeah, you're not an entrepreneur and a business owner if you don't have a meltdown about every 4 or 5 hours, right? Every once in a while, it is it's up and down. It's a lot.
Yeah. So how can somebody who still has that good business, right, and they're bouncing and hitting that ceiling,
Yeah.
how do they break through to that next level? What's kind of, because a lot of that is more mindset than anything.
Yeah.
They're probably doing the actions, or they're probably holding themselves back from getting that to that. Let's say it's breaking that $1 million GCI, GCI mark, or maybe it's the 250,000, whatever their numbers are.
Well, and I think it goes back to, I ask people all the time, like, hey, if you didn't hit your goal this week, was it, or this month or this year, whatever, was it a skill set or was it a mindset? And a lot of times people go, well, it was a skill set issue. Like if I knew what to say to clients better, or I knew how to build a funnel better, or if I knew whatever, I would hit that. And yet you realize that if you had the right mindset, you would have figured out the skill set. Right, so it's like people want to focus on the skill set, but usually it's the mind. If I get my mind in the right place, I'm going to figure out the right skill set. So I think it's almost always a mindset. And yet most people aren't attracted to. Let's talk about mindset, right? Most people want to go like, how do I build the next funnel or whatever? And yet it's if I get my mind in the right place, everything else is going to start showing up.
I think one of the things that probably is the most practical, like relatable experience that most real estate agents have, that Brian and I experience on our team, is they want to know exactly how we do our listing presentation, right? Like, what exactly do you say? Like, that's a perfect example, I think, where it's much more of a mindset issue than anything else. Like, my listing presentation, honestly, is different every single time. Right? Like it's based off the person sitting across the table from me, what information I've gathered prior to that. I couldn't teach you really how to do it in it's a mindset that I go into of confidence, knowledge about the market, those types of things. And I think a lot of agents just want you to tell them the exact thing to say. And they're just,
well, and here's the issue. And this is like with so many people that I'm working with, so many the people that I get to coach, what we work on is like, how do they get it out of your brain and share that with their people? Because that's the issue, right? Like I can give you a script. It's a lot harder though to tell you like how I deliver that script, or like how I go about making decisions. Because I see this happen all the time with leaders is they go, one of their people ask them a question, they go, and then they'll give them the answer. It's like, what the hell happened in that moment? When you went like what went through your brain? What questions did you ask? Where did you go? So if you got to teach people how to think. So a lot of times with a lot of my people that are running big teams, they're figuring out what are the 16 or 20 mindsets that they're going to teach their team throughout the year, right?
Sure.
Like every week we're going to go through a mindset thing, and we're going through it twice a year, over and over and over, right? Because we're good at teaching the skill set, but are we teaching the mindset piece consistently? And I think like you got to fortify the mind, man. Like it's you got to build this thing up like it's a machine.
You've got to fortify it, and the thing that like Matt and I really harp on our business, like you've got like the real, I think, embracing of that mindset conversation is getting super comfortable with the things that aren't working and the frustration and the stuff that sucks, and like getting like we talk like that's actually one of the reasons Matt just mentioned, like people come into our live classes and things like that, and they want to know our exact listing presentation. Or they come into Tour Academy and they want this and they want that, right? And there are very few things we don't share. There are a couple of things that like we notoriously will never share. We don't even share this with Nick, so I'm gonna tell you right now, don't look at him. I'm gonna know. We don't even share this. We have an expired text message campaign that absolutely murders, dude, on a level that like we've really never done anything with this high of a conversion rate. We don't share that with anybody in our classes or anything like that.
Nick's
right?
gonna go expire one of his properties this afternoon.
But he has plenty of property.
For sure, he's got plenty of listing, right?
I guess, does it stop me? No. Like we go and tweak and we go.
It does, and that's the same point, right? It's the only way that we got there, right? Was, dude, we blew up. Like we got our CRM almost to the point of a lawsuit, where like we got so many different email addresses and numbers marked as spam and all this type of stuff. We got so many Boomtown accounts, CRM accounts shut down and stuff for violating all this type of stuff that like really like there was like every week for like 6 months I was like, there's no fucking way to make this thing work without like, and we just kept pushing forward. And here's the thing. We had done so much at that point with kind of the rest of our business and with tour and like stuff like that. We're just like, it didn't deter us only because we had done enough that like we just knew that was part of the process, right? It was the same thing as like we did our first. Do you guys remember the first webinar we ever did for tour? It was at 6 o'clock on a Sunday, and at 5:59 we were still trying to figure out how to hook the webcam up to the fucking computer, right?
No, we couldn't even get the
and it was like it was just glare blasting the whiteboard and stuff. Like it was horrible, dude. And 375 people signed up for that webinar, and we bombed, dude. It was a joke. And kind of nowadays we set our webinars up like 2 minutes before they happen because it's just so routine now. And that only happened because we were okay with the shit that like most people I think would be really embarrassed about. Like there was a big part of me during that whole webinar was like, guys, we look like fucking idiots right now, you know? And like a lot of people would just cash in after that, you know? I think that's a big part of it. It's just accepting that.
And I think that's it. I think when you look at like the mindset, it's going back to like when we were talking about this at the mastermind last weekend. One of the big things that separates the high achievers from the low achievers. I mean, I think there's several things that really came out several times in the last couple of days. And one was first off realizing that being a successful leader like you guys are, it's not, nobody was born that way.
Sure.
Right? Like it was there's no such thing as a natural born business leader. Like you earned that over time. You know what I mean? I think we look at people and go, oh man, they're just naturally awesome. It's like probably not. Like they probably
Surely
sucked,
not.
right? You know what I mean?
There's a story there.
Right? And like everyone in that room was a 15-year overnight success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And realizing that we forget that stuff. And one of the big differences is like, can you lean into the suck? Like, can you lean into like, this sucks, this isn't working, and can you what messes you up is like the resistance and like the resentment. I shouldn't have to be doing this, or this sucks, or man, I really got to. And if you just like start to release that stuff, and you're not going to get over it overnight, but if you start doing that faster and faster and faster, I think that's the key. And then you start getting those. What are the questions I ask myself? Like, you got to build a bigger toolkit. Most high achievers, their only toolkit for success is hammer.
Yep.
And it's just like more, right? It's just like there's right, but it's like you're fixing a dishwasher. If you only have hammer, like you're screwed.
Sure.
So it's like they gotta build that tool chest with like mindset tools. Like, hey, when I fall down, here's the questions I ask myself. When someone's getting ready to quit, here's what like all these different mindset things you got to collect so you have a big resource kit when you need it.
I love that, dude, because like my hammer forever was just straight time on task.
Yes,
right. It
like,
was
just
just like
go.
I'm going to murder everything. Everything else can just like go to hell.
Yeah.
I will
I'll just call
drive.
8,000
Yeah, I'll
expires.
drive to Caddo Mills at 8 o'clock at night because that's
God,
where the
yeah.
deal is. Right.
Right.
Like whatever. And the hardest part about mindset for me was figuring out other ways to attack the same problem that ultimately at the end of the day are way more efficient, but feel super uncomfortable
Yes.
up front, right? Because it's not hammer.
No.
Right?
Yeah, we're so used to hammer. And you get realize, I just went through my clients that a couple months ago talking about like there's 7 different levers that you can pull to increase the profits in your business. But most people are only pulling the one lever, it's like more time. Like that's a lever, but like that one runs out. Like there's 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
this sucks.
I coach with Adam Hergenrother, and like one of the things he says, and I don't think it's unique to him, is like time is 100% not the cheat.
No.
Like everybody has, and you learn that really quickly. Like I think the thing that I always fell into the trap of was thinking that my hard work was somehow unique. There's a lot of people who work their ass
Yes.
off. What there's not a lot of is there's not a lot of people who work their ass off and do it super efficiently
Yeah.
and use all of that hard work in the most laser focused,
Right.
productive use of their time. That's where honestly still I fail catastrophically short.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I'm probably 10%, and this sounds crazy, but I'm probably 10 to 15% as productive as I could be in any given day.
Right.
And my phone tells me that because
Yeah.
I waste so much time doing shit that is not dollar productive in any way at all
Yeah.
that I know there's more time in a day for me to do other stuff.
Yeah.
It's kinda
I
sucks to
love
do
that analogy of like, I used to brag about like, man, I worked 100 hours this week, whatever, like beating my chest. And then I was like, oh, dang, dude worked like 40 hours and did the same
Yeah.
amount of shit. Like,
Wasn't
I'm
bad
an
at that.
idiot. Like, I'm bragging that I'm an idiot. I'm like, it took me twice as long, right? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I was crazy.
Like you get some joy from like overworking,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's some sort of thing to be cherished. I don't know.
So what is that first step though, in getting to that? Because so when I did the tribe,
Yeah.
on Friday, and you're like, hey, I want you to come talk about some leadership and everything. I was like, well, I still think I suck at that. Right, that's a constant, continual improvement.
Yeah.
Right, you talk about leaders. A lot of these successful people have just the one tool. But they don't want to learn and continually improve. Right, because that takes a lot of work. It's
lot of
scary.
work, yeah.
We talk about the webinar where we had 375 people was the most. We kind of blew the chance on that one, right? But it didn't stop because we're going to constantly get better. The last one we did had 100 people RSVP, funneled down to 40 people showing up, 10 people signing up to inquire more, and then so far 1 sale.
Right.
And so it's like that's not a bad ratio.
Yep.
It's not 375 people signing up.
Right.
Right? And so, but with constant tweaks, we will continue to get better. What is the saying? Is it 5.8% better every month? And then it's some of that, like it's a true compounding effect
Yeah.
to where you have a full change by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So what is that first step in kind of saying, all right, here I am, I'm bouncing around, I'm killing myself. I don't think I have any more to give.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
if I'm going to you, what do I do?
I think the first thing is like awareness in and of itself can be transformational. So when I say that, like awareness is like, so the first question I ask myself is like, is there someone out there that's getting twice as much done in the same amount of time? And if there is, there's obviously room for me to grow. So I think the first thing is going like, am I really maxed out? Is there somebody else that's making twice as much money in half amount of time? Is there somebody else who's making 3 times more money than I am, and they're still home every night for dinner? Like, and so I think the first thing is like exposing your mind, like, is it possible? Which is why I think you got to read autobiographies. I think you got to hang out with big thinkers. I think you got to do that stuff to expose yourself to that. And like one of my favorite quotes is, "I know what my blind spots are." Like, it cracks me up when someone tells me they know what their blind spots are. And I'm like, do you know what a blind spot is? Right? Like they're like, oh, I know what my blind spots are. I know what I need to work on. And I'm like, if it wouldn't, I'm not going to explain to you what a blind spot is, but this is one we're talking about right now. Right? But like, I think, right? Yeah. So, but I think it's like, you got to have people, you got to get people around you to go like, bro, like, it's not cool that you haven't been home for dinner in 2 weeks. Like, not cool. Like, we got to figure this stuff out. Is, hey man, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you're not like having more in the bank. Like, what's up with that? So I think you got to get people around you to expose some of those blind spots, whether it's books, whether it's coaching. I think it's all of it. But I think you have to ask yourself, like, at the end of the day, when you lay your head down on the pillow, are you happy with you? So in other words, at the end of the day, when I lay my head down on the pillow, is like, I know I was as effective as and efficient as I could be within the time. Like, I know I did my best. I know I was 2% better than I was yesterday. And if you can't answer that, like, you should feel guilty. Right? Like, if you didn't push the ball ahead 1 or 2% today, like, you should feel guilty and you should be pissed off. Right? So I think it's just like calling yourself out a little bit. You know what I mean? And not beating yourself up all the time, but just like, calling yourself to bigger. Am I really doing my best? And I'm not going to get 100% better tomorrow, but did I at least, like you said, that compound effect? Like, did I at least push it 2%?
As you were sitting there saying that, it made me want to ask you the question of like, well, then Wayne, what is the answer? But then I heard Charlie, this guy I talk to on a weekly basis, say in my head, hey, I know what the answer is, dummy. Like, you're the grown-up in the room, right? I think the thing that we all kind of forget when we get stuck in these mindset places is that really what we're hearing in our head is like a very fearful 7-year-old, a very defiant 17-year-old. And the person who wants to do the right thing is actually the adult in the room, who should step in and be like, hey, 7-year-old Matt, I understand you're super scared to do this situation, but it's going to work out okay, and I'm going to go ahead and make the call. Or, hey, 17-year-old Matt, I know you're like, none of this shit matters. I'm just going to hang out. But it actually does. It does. And 40-year-old Matt's really going to appreciate the fact that you did the right thing now. So I'm going to go ahead and take over right now. I think that's huge. At least for me, it was really great for me to be able to have that visual inside my head that the guy that wanted to do the right thing, the guy who felt guilty, the guy who felt pissed off about his efficiency issues, was actually the dude who needed to step in when the 17-year-old was like, no, you know what? Facebook's all right. We're going to hang out here for 3 more hours, right? Like, and I think being able to visualize that conversation in my head allowed me to take real world action against myself. Right? That's real mindset shit. That's the kind of stuff you have to do. It's not just like, hey, I would really like to coach with Wayne because he'll hold me accountable. Wayne's only got so many hours in the day. If you don't allow Wayne to hold you accountable, guess what Wayne's going to get tired of doing? Trying to hold your ass accountable. Right?
Well, it's that awareness, like you're just saying. The awareness is the first part. Like I just give you an example from yesterday, right? So Matt and I on our team, our business, like our big, like kind of first hurdle you get to in real estate is you earn your weekends back, right?
Right.
So like you're working, when you get into the business, you're working every day to get your weekends back, right? Like that's what we expect. We expect you to hold 2 open houses a week, every week for your first 90 days at least, until you start to earn your weekends back, right? And now he and I, we're still growing our real estate business, and we're also sort of branching out into other different things, right? We have a different podcast that we do. We have a bunch of other content things that we do, kind of all sorts of different stuff that take up time in our day. And we were talking yesterday, we were just like, we're both stressed out. We're like, gee, we got so much. Just like we have 80 hours of work a week and we can't fit it into our 40 hours, and just like we're super, super stressed. And we're kind of talking about maybe we should come in on a Saturday or this and that. And we're both kind of like, I don't want to do that. That's my time. And like, I kind of had this moment of clarity where I was like, dude, here's the deal. This is what we tell them. I was like, if we're doing all these things, we're on chapter 1 of all these things. Have we earned our weekends yet? Have we earned our weekend? Like, yeah, sure, in real estate, if all we want to do is sell residential real estate for the rest of our lives, then yeah, we've earned our weekends back. We're trying to do like a bunch of other things right now. And now he and I just made a plan that we have to come in every damn Saturday for indefinite
2 hours.
days.
And I think that's where like you gotta have.
But we haven't earned it yet, right?
And I think there's 2 things that I thought about in there. It's like, one, you have to earn it. Like, you got to earn the right to move. Like, what do you got to do to earn the right to not have to show houses again? What do you have to do to earn the right to whatever? And you got to do the suck. You got to do the work. You got to write the scripts. You got to write all that kind of stuff. But the second thing too is like you need other people. To talk these things through with, to go, what question am I not asking? Like, what did you do when you got to this point? What am I not looking at? Because if you could have solved it, you would have already done it. If you could have solved it on your own, you would have already solved it. And then I think the third thing, this is such a huge principle that I would take note on, is every time you have a frustration, most of us as high achievers, we take medication, right? So we're like, frustrated, I don't have enough time. Shoot, I'll work Saturdays, right? Screw it, I'll work tonight, right? So we have a frustration, we pull out hammer, right? Like that we're like really comfortable with. We're like, bam, right? Screw my family, work more, right? Whatever. But I think whenever you have a frustration, our tendency is to just take medication, right? I got a headache, I'm just going to take a bunch of pills instead of going like, hold on, like, why do I have a headache? Like, hey, I get a headache every day at this time because I eat crap.
Sure.
Or so instead of just taking medication, do an investigation. What about my schedule isn't serving me? What about the way I'm teeing up my relationship with my clients is setting me up for this failure? What about how I'm delegating isn't working that's causing? So instead of like just taking medication and applying hammer, every time you have a frustration, do an investigation before you take medication. You know what I mean? And do an investigation to go like, hey, what about this isn't working? And go like, from the smoke down into the fire to go, what's really not working here. And I think that's why you need coaches and other people in your life to help you get through the smoke down to the actual stuff.
And when it comes down to accountability on that, where do you find, because we just talked about this, it's you can't truly hold somebody accountable. I can't put a gun to your head and say, look, you don't do this, you're gone.
Right.
I mean, and so trying to hold that's the most, one of the, if I would have to rank them, that's probably at least up there, one or two. The most frustrating thing about maybe a bit being even just a business owner in itself is that you're relying on other people to do what they say they're going to do. Then they don't do, and you're like, hey, Wayne, why didn't you hit your calls, man? I just didn't want to. Oh, okay. Like,
and what about the bullshitters like me who can just kind of like, we
Talk
only
that
got an
out.
hour together
Yeah.
a week. I can kind of tell you what you want to hear.
Like, where'd you get this splitter? Like, I mean, seriously, I'll work on those calls.
Exactly.
I got you.
Yeah.
So how are you seeing it's best to hold even just the high achievers, because high achievers are probably going to be
Squirrely
one
mother
of your most excuse making people.
Yes.
I'm too busy
Like
for that, man.
they have a doctorate in BS, right? It's like my job. I heard sometimes it's like I need to go to a therapist that coaches other therapists because I'm really good at BS, right? Like I need someone that can see through my shit. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty good at. But I think accountability is like if you figure this out, there you go. We're all retiring. But I think accountability is like you were saying earlier. It's different to everyone. For me, like I think that for me, especially with the people that I get to work with, I have to help them realize like, look, you are powerful, you're resourceful, you're a whole person, you're not broken weak, right? Like if I said, hey man, if you make 30 calls every single morning before 8 o'clock for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to give you this briefcase with $1 million in it. You'd probably figure that out. Do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have to call you every morning. You'd have 18 alarms. You'd get your brother-in-law involved. Like you'd do whatever you had to do to make that happen. You'd sleep at the office if you had to. Like you're a resourceful, powerful person. And if you can't figure it out, like I can help you and I can give you tools and guides and everything else. But like I think a lot of that drive has to come from within. But I'm going to call you out on feeling like you don't know what to do.
Right.
Because that's a real feeling, right?
Sure.
And I'm going to go like, dude, hey, if the stakes were big enough for you to figure this out, what are your options? So I can coach you through it. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of accountability is, hey, if that doesn't happen, how can I help with that? Like, hey, if that doesn't happen, what do you want the pain to be? How do you want me to hold you able to this? Right? So I got a guy yesterday, if he doesn't do his stuff for the next week, he runs a $100 million custom cabinet company. The guys make like $80,000 bunk beds.
$100 million
seriously.
custom cabinet
They
company?
made $80,000
Jeez.
bunk beds for a cabin the other day. Like that's what these anyway. But if he doesn't give me
tell Luke.
what he doesn't this next week, if he doesn't do his stuff, he has to give away $1,000 in McDonald's gift cards. Okay, this is a guy with like 6-pack, runs like 18 times a day, whatever it is. Him giving away $1,000 in McDonald's is like he's gonna feel like he's killing children, which he probably is, right? But like
I'm right here with that mess.
right,
Double cheeseburger.
yeah. Here we go, double cheesers. Now you know where to hit. Now you know where to hit those gift cards.
Real LSVA.
But like for him, that's what he needed. He needed like some like, oh dear God, like this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. that. You know what I mean? So I think it's different for everybody.
So it's finding what would
What works, yeah.
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 Because there's an app that someone had shared with me. Actually, Denton Guam shared this with me. And so I'm going to look at testing it out. It's called the Spar app.
Nice.
Have you heard of it?
No.
So basically, you go into the Spar app and you can create like one of these. And I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
Do 50
it's like
push-ups
bits.
a day.
Oh, nice.
Right. So
Okay.
this one is definitely going to hold you to a monetary deal, right? So if you don't do it,
push-ups,
I
so
like
this
it.
is 60-second wall sits, duration once a day for 14 days. If you don't do it, it's a $20 penalty, right? And then you get all these people signing up. If you're the host of it, then I think you're the one that gets the money,
So
right?
you could just start.
Yes, then
Oh, wow.
you can join a challenge, you can host a challenge, and so I'm trying to figure out more and more ways to continue holding my people accountable
Yeah.
because. Again,
And have some fun with it. It's okay to, you have to have the pain, I think, but also have some fun.
yeah, because I think it was it you, Brian, I was talking to, or maybe it was somebody else that had said, all right, if we were truly to say, all right, I'm cutting you off of leads, I would more than likely have to cut everybody off, and then
Everybody,
no one's calling the leads.
We just talked about this.
And it's like,
ago.
all right,
Sinking
so
that money.
now defeats the purpose. And I'm like, all right, now I'm back to square one. Now I'm the one having to call all the leads.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Then I'm
we
gonna
used to
fall
have
behind
about
and I should cut
15
myself
different
off.
accountability rules that we boiled down to like one.
I think there's 1.5.
It was like be on the 9 o'clock power up.
Yes.
That's how we know you're alive.
Yes.
Wake
just-
up
yeah.
and breathe.
And I think that's why the mindset piece is so important because I think if we got really into it, there's like 10 reasons why people don't hit their goals. And yet some of those reasons are that maybe it wasn't their goal in the first place. Like
That's the
they're
thing,
going after a
yeah.
goal that's not really, and I think sometimes like you got to call people out and they go, man, I really want to lose 20 pounds. Like, dude, it's been 3 years. If you don't want to lose, like if that's not your thing, like it doesn't have to be. You know
No,
what I mean?
we
Or-
have everybody do, before I even do goal setting with
Yeah.
our new agents now, our new business partners, we have them do a future self exercise,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a low level of like, if you've ever seen or done, I know you've been to a lot of Tony Robbins stuff too, is like the future self thing they do in person. Like,
Right.
that'll bring tears to your eyes sometimes. You get
Yeah.
like really deep into it and stuff. We have them do like a basic future
Yeah.
self exercise only because when you lay out your goals, I want you to have thought about it. Like, we do very
Yes.
arbitrary things like, I need to make 200 grand next year. But like,
Yeah.
we don't have that attached to anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
we
and I
don't-
think the step that we miss a lot of times when I see people set their goals, they go, man, all right, I want to do 200 closings next year. It's like awesome, that's cool. And it's like, okay, what do you got to do to get that? And they go, all right, I'm all in, I'm in, right? And they make this commitment to whatever it is, and they get all excited about it, but they haven't tallied up the cost. So I think you got to go, all right, you want to lose 20 pounds, what is that going to take? And then let's evaluate what it's going to take, and then are you willing to commit to that? But I think a lot of times people don't kind of tally up the cost before they just make this blanket commitment, and then it ends up failing. So it's like, hey, if you want to do 1,000 transactions next year, yeah, you could, right? You could. Are you?
Here's what it takes.
You did 0 last year. Are you willing to do what it's going to take to cop that? And if you're not, that's cool. Maybe it's 100 this next year, 200, whatever. So I think that's part of it.
I think it's really important too for people to understand this, like, because what I fell in the trap of doing was I didn't have any attachment to financial goals just because of just who I am, right?
Right.
So I started, like, when everybody asked you what the big why was, I started searching for that in really weird places. Well, I'm a father.
What's a
too.
really weird place?
So so here's the thing is, right, like I started searching for it, like I started being like, so what would make me get up in the morning, right?
Right.
And I thought generically as a father to a son, that should make me get up. The problem is I had no emotional attachment to that. The reason why was because that's part of the gig,
Yeah.
right? Like I was going to get up and work my ass off for my kid anyways, because that was just part of what I signed up for by being
Yeah.
a dad, right? So like it wasn't that for me. And I thought it should have been. I actually felt guilty for a time that it wasn't family.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, how does family not make you? Because,
Yeah.
dude, I'll tell you right now, and I still struggle with it. I know my biggest problem is the
Yeah.
fact that the first 2 hours of my day, that 5 to 7, I don't have that.
Right. Yeah.
Because I just am such a pea about getting up at 5 a.m. And I know all my problems are solved in those 2 hours. The time I need to get back, all of those things. And I have not found the thing that makes those 2 hours less important. And that is so irritating,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
There's no question in there. I'm just being honest. Like, it's just so frustrating.
It's kind of like what we talked about on Friday at the Tribe Mastermind, right? So I do this emotional cycle of change. And so what you exactly hit on is I want to sell 1 million houses this year.
$1 million.
1 million.
Ooh, there we go.
Right?
Come on.
And we're like, oh man, that sounds awesome.
That's all the houses.
Get the hammers!
Yeah, all the houses, right? And you start getting hyped up. You start to get that euphoric feeling. It's like I just took a
How
shot.
hard can it be?
Is it heroin? Maybe that's how it feels, right, Brian?
House
even know.
heroin.
You're right,
There you
Brad.
go.
There was a
Do
billion
we need
idea
spoons?
there.
I don't even know what we need. Keep going.
How do you know?
Any heroin
But-
I don't know
before
how we
today's
do
But
it.
in the
episode.
emotional,
Zero.
in the emotional cycle of change, there's 5 phases, right? And when you make those goals or you make that commitment, or you think about something, it's that uninformed optimism. That's your most positive state of mind.
Game on.
Right? It's the shortest lived state, though. Right? That's that amazing feeling, like just like you got in real estate.
It's a great idea.
We
man,
learned
this
launch
is gonna-
webinars. There's
Yeah.
even an app for
Yeah.
it. Game on.
Right?
They already got everything set up.
That's how you feel every
yeah.
time you leave a training. You're like,
Yeah.
I am going to make
Yep.
300 videos this year.
See you in 10 minutes.
I'm going to
Got
dominate
this.
YouTube.
So basically, phase 1, uninformed optimism, is you imagine the benefits, but you have not experienced any of the cost or pain. So exactly what you just said, right?
100%.
Then you go into phase 2, which is below the pessimistic line. So you get into that negative state, and you're like, oh shit.
There's a lot. There's a lot of.
Oh, you know, my
Wow.
friends and family aren't going to use me. My brother just bought a house and didn't use me. You know, and they're like, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is that you learn the reality of what it takes to change, and you go from that positive to negative state of emotion. And if you're like most people, like myself, I'm stubborn, right? So maybe all of us here, that's probably why we're still in the business, because we're stubborn. But you start questioning, shit, should I really be doing this? It's got to get better. Like, that's just my brother who didn't buy a house through me. Like, my mom's got to buy a house through me, right? You know, she's going to help me. She loves me. And then it doesn't get better, right? You go to phase 3, valley of despair.
Yeah, I
Right?
love it. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So this is everything you just talked about, that state of mind where this is where most people give up, because the benefits of change or the benefits of what you're wanting to do seem so far away. You know, take Brian, for example. You're 104. How many days in are you on your triathlon training?
130 is today.
130. Go back to day 1.
But day 1 I had to swim. I almost drowned immediately.
Right.
It was almost over on day 1.
So you take that. So day 1, you're like, all right. Before that, you're like, man, I'm going to run this triathlon. Like, I'm an athlete.
No,
I need
yeah.
something to train
Then
and
when
go
I saw
for.
what it goes into it,
Yes, right? And then you go into phase 2, phase 3, like, got to get better.
Yep.
Phase 3 is like, nope, it's not better. I'm going to fucking quit.
Yep.
But I've already
it was
put it out
super
there.
fun when I was buying the stuff in the store to do the triathlon.
That's the
Right.
phase
Like,
one.
that's
this
the
stuff,
best part,
I got all
yes.
the gear.
Yeah.
I got in that pool.
Well, and
and it
in-
was October, and I got in the pool. I was like, oh, God.
And
I
in
don't
phase
want this.
3, you start hallucinating that, you know what? It wasn't that bad before.
Yes.
You forget
Right?
the time.
Like, you know
That's
what?
where I
It
am
wasn't
now,
it
right?
wasn't that bad, like, when I didn't have a business. It wasn't that bad, right? You start thinking like, oh man, I'm just not built for this. This
Yes.
just isn't me.
Yep.
It wasn't that bad before, and that's where most people just go back.
And you want to go back to that euphoric feeling. I
Right.
mean, and that onto something new, so you can tell everyone, man, I'm onto
Yeah.
this thing. It's going to
Yeah.
be great. That's the next billionaire idea.
New year, new me.
That's right.
a
New year, new me.
manifestation of that, yeah.
You know, I want to make a Brian billionaire idea. I want that to be my
Yeah,
segment.
if you can, but the ones
Right.
that can.
And then
Tech
and
talk
then,
and walk it.
Look, this is where the majority of people, right? It's the time. So
Yep.
you've got the time lapse on it. So most people give up because it's too hard, or in their mindset it's too hard. Or you have this fuck it, I can do this attitude,
yeah.
and that's where you go to phase 4. You're back over the positive state of mind. You're in that optimism, and it's called informed optimism. So possibility of success increases, and you're back in a positive state of mind. The benefits of your actions is starting to show, right? And this is where like most people stop because you're fucking worn out. Right? You probably see it in the coaching world.
All the time.
Right? Like if you were coaching me, like, all right, Nick, just come on, man, just get through this shit. All right, Wayne, I had a breakthrough. I did it, and like, but man, I'm tired.
Right. I followed my schedule that one morning.
Yeah, you
Yes.
pended 3 deals one month, and all of a sudden all your problems are
Yeah,
gone.
exactly.
Like, all right, I'm good this
Yes,
month,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, how do you coach somebody to go to phase 5, which is success and fulfillment? The benefits of new behaviors are fully experienced. What was once hard now becomes easy and routine, right? How do you coach someone from that? Like you're riding that emotional train with them,
Right.
and you get them to phase 4.
Yeah.
How do you continue pushing them to the phase
Well,
5?
dude, sometimes I can get sucked into phase 4. I'm like, hell yeah!
yeah.
Like, dude, it's 6 months to get here. Let's celebrate, man. Like, see you at Denny's in 8 minutes. Like,
Every time I close a big transaction, I'm just like, hey, working for a week.
we're good. Yeah. No. So I think that the big thing is, I mean, there's multiple things, but I think this is why all of us leading humans, coaching ourselves. You you need to be a master of emotional intelligence, and you need to be a master at how humans actually work. And I think that one of the things you talk about, like when you're doing that, we focus on the result and not the journey. So many people focus on, I want to lose 10 pounds. Instead, as we grow, we focus on the journey of who do I need to be that would naturally lose 10 pounds. So instead of like, hey, when I get this webinar system done, I've arrived. Instead of, I want to be a business owner that's continually growing and continually falling in love and tackling big problems. I want to be a problem solver. Instead of like, I want to be someone who fixed this, I want to be a problem solver. I want to be someone who's continually getting better. You know what I mean? So I think it's like continuing to expand your mind and changing how you look at things, and really it's identifying what actually brings you happiness and fulfillment. I don't think, or we don't ever, happiness isn't something we achieve. Happiness is the byproduct of us doing what we know we need to be doing. Right, you know what I mean? So it's like happiness, people think, man, it's like that whole happy ever after BS, right? It's like, hey, when I get out of high school, then I'm going to be happy. Hey, when I have kids, then I'm going to be happy. Hey, when I, it's like, it never freaking happens. And you realize happiness is the byproduct of, you know what? I got 2% better today. Happiness is the byproduct of I'm tackling big problems, and I love that I'm someone that tackles big problems. I think that's a big piece of that mindset.
I had this epiphany one time that was just like, and I don't even think it was super profound, but it was like when you just take the stuff that you do, like if you do something wrong 10 out of 10 times, like you're like, I just never get it right. Make the attempt and give yourself the grace just to do it right or do it wrong 9 out of 10 times. And what ultimately ends up happening is then you do it wrong 7 out of 10 times. Right. Then it's 5 out of 10 times. Now it's no longer a habit. Now it's just riding down the downhill side, right? Now you only do it a couple of times wrong, and then it's just kind of a little indulgent, whether it's behavior or food or whatever, right? And I think that's a constant journey, because the thing is, even if you master that little thing that you thought was a problem, then you realize there's like, oh shit, there's this other thing.
And there's this
other thing that's actually led to the other thing.
Yeah.
Well, Wayne talked about in one of our business planning, I think it was 2019 or maybe 2018's business planning, it's kind of funny how, or not funny, it's sad, just how most of the successful people you run into are addicts, right? So when they're breaking it down, it's like, we've got a lot of shit to work on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like, what do you talk about? Either addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, addicted to popping, anything,
right?
Tic Tacs.
Bro, you could be addicted to avoidance. Here's the thing: is I think, and I know we're winding down this show, so I'm not going to go on this rabbit trail, but I want to acknowledge the fact that like you can be addicted to nothing that everybody thinks is scary and still be unproductive and detrimental to yourself. I am madly addicted to avoidance. Right? Like my ability to do something else when I need to do the other thing is staggering.
So let me, if I have a second, I'll give you one thing on that. So here's what I think doesn't work, and everyone who's taken bold is gonna hate me. But here's what it does. Like I think most affirmations are bullshit, and here's what I mean by that. If I go like, if I know in my heart of hearts I'm like an awesome procrastinator, right? If I know that I avoid like crazy, and if I go, I tackle things before I need to. I tackle things before I need to. I don't care how like it might work if you say it a gazillion times, but the reality is every time you say that, there's a little part in the back of your mind that's like bullshit.
Yeah,
100%.
Right? Like I know you, mother. Right? Like we've hung out before. You know what I mean? Like I've been in here for a while, and so like it's a lot of times when people are doing affirmations, it's actually making things worse because what they're really hearing is like, no, you don't. Right? You're like, I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy. It's like, go check your bank account, dude. Like pull up the app. You know what I mean? Like you're wealthy now, right? Let's check. Right?
I'm a money magnet.
Yeah, I'm money magnet, and everyone's going like, I don't know. I guess it's not working. I don't know, right? More
Everybody
ones.
lay down.
But here's what I think does work in those affirmations. It's we do respond to how we see ourselves, right? We act in accordance with our world, with our view of how we see ourselves. So what I believe big time is in quarter turn affirmations, and this is something that's really changed my life. So instead of going like, man, I'm always do things before I need to, it's going, you know what? Every once in a while I do something before I have to. I'm finding more and more joy in every once in a while doing something before I need to do it. There was a couple times this week where I did stuff before I needed to do it. Like I'm getting better and better at doing things where I need to. Like I'm enjoying this. Like, and I think if you can take some of these really negative affirmations that we got going on in our mind and turn those into some quarter turns, that begins to allow you to go on the journey. Right? Am I amazing at giving details? No. Am I way better at it than I was 6 months ago? Yeah. I'm getting better and better at being more detailed. Right? So it's like if you can get some quarter turn affirmations, I think that's one of the things that helps. So I think with all this mindset stuff, like you were saying earlier, we want this overnight change, and the reality is it's not going to happen. So the biggest thing you got to get good at is what's your recovery time, and the faster and better you can get a recovery time, the better it's going to get. So the faster you catch yourself, the faster you do all that stuff. It's
boys.
That's phase one.
That makes you feel good.
That's phase one. That's phase
where
one.
Matt
But you think
lives.
about like a car at the top of a hill. When that car, if there's a car at the top of a hill and started to roll, if that car is really barreling down and you're trying to stop that car halfway down the hill, like that's
Nope.
really hard.
Right.
But the closer and closer to the top of that hill you try to stop that car, the easier and easier it gets. To the
Right.
point where you find yourself procrastinating, you find yourself going into a bad place. And if you can catch yourself faster and faster and faster, like the easier and easier it gets. So you
Right.
just have to build. You have to build those muscles and get rid of it's going to happen overnight because it's not.
Add another shit besides hammers to your toolbox.
You're going to need some more tools.
I do need a few more.
Before we get into billionaire idea,
Do we even have one? I think we've
I mean, he's got to at least make something up. Wayne, where can
I
people
have
find
to
you?
make something up?
On the internet.
On the internet.
On the internet.
WayneHub.com.
WayneHub.com. No, you can go to Wayne
If you haven't
Salmans
heard of
on
the
Facebook
internet,
and everywhere
comment
else.
below.
Go to theheronation.com. That's where all of our stuff's at.
I think you should do Wayne Hub.
Wayne Hub. I like it.
Wayne Hub.
Wayne.
Wayne Hub. Yeah. It's just
short,
so
I
just so much
guess.
just yeah, it would not be.
Slight sidebar. But I don't know if we're going to get into billionaire. I don't know if Brian's actually got one. But what was everybody's first email address when you got into real estate and thought you were going to make your own business?
Mine was
Because
like-
Brian and I were talking about this today. Mine was crazy ass long.
Oh,
Mine was
yeah.
matt@mattkeldermanrealty.com.
Oh my goodness.
It's like 300 characters.
Which go ahead and shoot me an email. It'll still come to me. 'cause I still
I got to forward it.
got
That's a
it.
good one. I think
mine
mine
was-
was.
I think mine was like bforcerealestate@gmail.com.
Oh,
That's-
Which
I
is
never had a Gmail one at least. I never.
so-
I always
that just
had a
ages so
a
poorly.
vanity.
You were
one.
advanced. You were advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the Good Home Selling Team.
The
Good Home Selling Team.
Such an obvious miss of a pun there.
You guys got good last names.
But
don't
we
mess
did.
up
I
on
did.
that.
There is somebody local that changed their team name to the Great Home Selling Team.
Oh snap! See, that's brilliant right there. That's your
Yes.
billionaire idea. Just take somebody else, just whoop.
I always like it when there's just like there's a bunch of people. It's like we're experts at selling homes. Well, we're the home selling experts.
Yes.
It's like you sons of bitches.
You should
All
actually
you do is
just. That
just
should be
flippity
the.
floppity flop.
That should be some of your just generic videos
should
right
be,
there.
Yeah.
If we were on the ticket, there would just be something. There'd be a drop in the background. Just go generic.
Yes. Or like an eagle.
Yeah.
You got to have an eagle in there.
Exactly.
Oh, all right, I'm going to need everybody's help on this one.
Oh, we're going.
Roll it!
Derek was not ready.
And now, Brian Force's billionaire movie something.
That's face.
I'm not sure if he's scared or excited about it.
Right.
Here's the thing. I want to address this video, right? Like Derek has a camera in there now. He should show himself.
Show yourself.
1 second.
And I'll give him a second to show himself. But the reality, there he is. Hey, this is Derek always remember. Here's the thing is Derek one day said, hey guys, come in, we're gonna do some fun stuff. And like Derek's really dope. Like that thing almost had an eagle in it and some other shit that was gonna happen. Derek toned it down to the proper amount. But what didn't, like Matt didn't take into account is the hairstyle he had that day, what he was wearing. So we're all in there jumping around acting like idiots. And we decide to do this thing where Derek's like, all of you stare at the camera. He's like, you and Nick stare at the camera as long as humanly possible while Brian just does this
Take
thing.
that to heart.
And that's what my face looked like when he told me to do that.
Obviously, that's what I look like. I didn't know.
Exactly.
I didn't know. Yeah.
It was just ridiculous. But I love it, so it's going to run forever.
You know how I say usually my ideas are half baked? This is like 1/8 baked. So I think I'm going to need your help. I need everybody's help. I have this idea that I think would be funny because, like, a lot of people really don't like LeBron James because of his style of play and all that type of stuff. I actually really like LeBron. One of the things you could say about him is he's never really been in trouble. He actually donated an entire school for like children. Like I don't really know the specifics around it, but I know that it happened, right? Like he like made this whole, what's it called?
School.
School for children.
No, not
This is your story,
Not
dude.
the
What the hell are you
noun.
looking at me for?
LeBron James' school that he like donated or like built or something.
The
School.
The
He's
LeBron James School for Children.
That's the Derek Zoolander
LBJ.
Institute for Kids Who Can't Read Good. Something like that.
don't know.
There. Man, I thought everybody's going to know what I was talking about. One, he did donate. He downloaded an entire school. He donated like an entire school, which is like crazy. Just from a fan standpoint, because like even if it's just a dude who beats up on your team year after year, you can't hate a dude that does that. Like it's you gotta love that. So I was gonna do the same thing. Except I was going to do things that's like more relevant. Like I'm not going to download. I'm not going to donate a school because like you eventually graduate. I'm going to donate like a club, and it's going to be like imagine if I donated like the equivalent of like Studio 54 back in the 70s. Like that's going to be my donation. And so people are going to like super judge me because they're like, that's not helping the youth. And I'm like, that's not my target demographic at all. I want people who are going to tweet about me. So I'm like so obviously doing it for my personal brand because I think there's like some sort of hubris that comes with that stuff anyway. Like I love LeBron James. He also probably doesn't care about the level of education that all those kids get because they're not all his kids. So at least I'd be doing it very honestly. I'd be like, I'm going to donate some shit, but it's literally only to the people that have an influence that can put some shit out there.
Only people
to
who
really
are
pump me up.
verified on Twitter can
so
come
I'm
to
like,
his
come out,
donated
have some
club.
drinks. It's all free because I donated the club.
Are the kids drinking?
No, it's not for kids, Nick. It's for a different demographic of influencers.
These are not Scott's tots.
It's very exactly. It's very admittedly self-serving. That's the joke. The joke is that kids don't tweet or Instagram as much as people in their 20s, so I'm going to donate a club to them so they can hang out and tweet about me to help my personal
The
brand.
awesome club owner.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Hugh Hefner had this idea.
I think he kind of executed on this idea very well. Yeah.
True, yeah.
Wayne's like, this sounds so
Where do
familiar.
entrepreneurs go to deal with their stuff and addictions and whatever? Yeah, there's something, I don't know.
There's a bigger idea there, Derek, but I was hoping we'd flesh it out.
I think I'm going to stick with the
Maybe
school
next
thing.
week.
Yeah.
He sucked me in with child education.
Yeah.
And then
And then
crushed my
immediately
dreams with
squashed that.
pornography
I
and
was like,
horrors.
take that idea and make it worse.
Make it worse. Double down. That's our advice for today. Just double down on everything. More hammer.
Exactly.
If you take nothing away from this, more hammer.
Wayne Salmans was here today, folks, and it was awesome. Don't listen to the last 5 minutes, but listen to the rest of this.
No, Derek, take us out.